Computer. Hello, hello. My name is Elisa, and I'm here with amazing Jeanette. And we will speak today about sales. That definitely is the topic that is quite emotional for many people, I have understood. But we have Jeanette here who will introduce herself very soon. But for me, the sales has been something that I started actually doing in a quite young age. And I love it. I love selling people stuff. But I have also noticed that many people don't enjoy not only selling, but they have some kind of restrictions even with buying, which is like very interesting for me. And I would definitely like to go into this more detail during our discussion today. But dear Jeanette, uh, tell us, how are you related with sales?
Lisa, this is a fun topic for me too. I had 25 years in corporate sales, and I only decided to go into sales because my boyfriend at the time was in sales, and all he did was talk on the phone all the time and made a lot more money than I did. So I thought, well, I can do that, right? That's not hard. It turns out, it was a skill set I had to learn. I Because of the kind of person I am, I became a relationship salesperson. I'm much more interested in hearing what people need and then helping them find a solution than, look at what I can do. And, you need this thing. So I did that for a long time. And then I started my own business. And that's a transition, right? Selling someone else's things to
Mm.
selling yourself was a journey. But I took all of the skills I have from my corporate sales and I put them to work and selling myself. And I help other people, like you're talking about, understand sales in a different way because it's just a different form of communication, I think.
Yeah, which brings me to that how do you see sales? How do you define sales? What sales is for you?
Well, we sell all the time. I think that may be how you and I started talking about this initially, because we know like how it feels when someone's pushing something on you,
Mm.
and that's like not pleasant. But also we get lit up by other people's projects and things that they're passionate about. So our mutual friend Carl did this bicycling all over the world, and because he was so excited about it, I looked into the company. He sold me on that without selling, right? So
Mm.
that's kind of how I see it. Because you know how you feel when your friend gets just super excited about something, right?
Oh
That's
yeah.
Right? That's it. And that's how I see sales. If it's not a fit, or like what if I didn't like riding bikes? Carl didn't do anything wrong, right? It was just, I'd not wasn't something of interest to me. And that's the other side of sales that people seem to take really personally if someone
Mm.
doesn't buy from them, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also um, they feel sometimes that they are forced to buy,
Hmm.
even though it's not pushed to them, it's just introduced opportunity in my mind. But in some reason, people have difficulties to say, no, I'm not interested in it.
Hmm. They do. Yeah. Yeah. Because you feel sort of emotionally invested, right? And it's hard to disappoint someone.
Yeah, that's so true. I think it's related with this disappointment that we don't want to make other people feel bad, and we are actually afraid how this makes us feel.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That prevents people from selling too. And what I love about this conversation is that this is universal, right? This is
Yeah.
like it's everywhere. We're all going through it. It's not just in one corner of the world people feel a particular way, right? It's everywhere. And I think part of it's because of the way that we've been sold to over the years.
Yes.
And I've watched sales just change, especially with access to the internet. Everybody now knows pretty much what they want. Once they're in front of you talking to you about your services, they're like just on the edge of saying yes. And it's not they otherwise they wouldn't be talking to you. They'd be Googling something else, right?
Yeah, that's so true. As we discussed as well, that sales is not only about selling products or services or being in corporate sales like you have been. We actually are selling every day, all day. We sell ideas to our family members, our parents, our children. Also, at the company, we sell our ideas, we sell ourselves. If we apply to some kind of role or position, we need to sell ourselves.
Yes.
How do you see this?
Oh yeah, and to your point, I think we sort of separate this as it's a different thing. Sales is different, but it's not. It's all the time. And women are actually the best salespeople, right? They're really, really good at it because part of this is the conversation is the back and forth, like understanding whether something's landing with the person who wants to buy and maybe helping them see it in a different way if they're misunderstanding it, right? You figure that out. Not that men aren't wonderful and they're not good at it. Um, they just tend to do it in a different way. And so what I see is if a woman takes on the strategy of a male salesperson, it doesn't fit, right? Just like I can't deliver a presentation to my children about why they should do their chores, right? I would do it just
It would
doesn't.
be funny. I would like to see this. Hello, this is a family gathering. Let's gather now. I have presentation with 5 slides, so those are the topics today. This is the agenda.
I know. I should probably try that someday. But not maybe it's because of sales, but it's persuading them to do things that they might not ordinarily want to do. It's all part of how we interact as people, right? We're always kind of moving together and doing different things and selling the idea of you even sell your friends on going to a restaurant, right? Like I want to,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, I may want to go somewhere and I have to convince them that this is the best option, right? So yeah.
yeah. But what are your tips or tricks how to sell in a way that people don't feel that this is pushed, but
Mm.
they still start to get interested in it? Like you told about um, your interest growing while Carl talked about cycling.
Yeah, it's the same everywhere. The thing that people tend to miss is that a good salesperson listens more than they talk.
Mm.
Right. Because I want to know what's important to you. I want to know why you're talking to me, what you think, your problem is, what you're struggling with. And once I know that, then I can say whether or not I'm the right fit. I might not be, right? It's possible that there's somebody else I know who would be a better fit. But if I can match up with the things that you need, then yeah, of course. But it's curiosity. If you assume you know, usually you miss the mark, right? We've got
Yeah.
to just understand what's going on. That is, I think, the biggest, tip or trick when it comes to sales is not talking about you and what you can do first. Because until the person you're talking to is interested, they don't really hear you. They don't, it's not meaningful to them until they can see how it actually would help solve one of their problems, right?
Yeah, I listened to you, and you earlier mentioned as well that women are better in sales, and it makes me think that is it related with empathy, which women are more developed in this?
Empathy and just generally being able to read the emotional state, whether we learn that out of necessity or it's something that we're just generally good at, I don't know. But as a woman walking through the world, you kind of have to know. read the situation. If I'm walking down the street late at night in a city, I have to be aware of the people around me, just as a function of being a woman. Not to, make men and women entirely different, but that's just, I think it's truism for everywhere you go.
Okay. So I got that you told that the first actually tip or trick is to actually listen, ask questions, and
Yes.
then like really listen.
Mhm.
And then as a third step, offer your thoughts that are maybe helping to solve this thing or will benefit the person.
Yeah. Well, if you're in a sales conversation, the way that I teach people to do this is those things, right? We're curious about what's going on.
Hmm.
I want to know what they're currently doing, maybe where there are holes in the current solution and because that's probably where they're really looking for a fit. Um, and then I want to know what it is that they want, right?
Hmm.
What is it that you're looking for in an ideal world? Like what problem do you want to solve? And then at that point, it's great if you have stories about your work and what you've done, right? So you can say, well, somebody in a similar situation has worked through this problem in this way. That's sort of the conversation cycle. And at that point, um, you can get to like the next sort of yes, right? We don't need a follow-on conversation. If it's a company thing, are there other people that need to, buy into this solution? Who do we need to talk to? But yeah, depending on the situation, that's generally the format. But again, I care so much about them, right? I want to know about them and then talk about how I can fill the gaps that they currently have.
Yeah, it I have used quite similar strategy or tactics
Yeah.
in sales, and I see that it really works. And from my experience, it's working because you really listen to people,
Mhm.
and nowadays it's not so common that people really are listening to you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. We're missing that human connection.
Yeah, and not only with other people, but also human connection with ourselves, because we often don't think about many things. Why we, for example, take first idea like buying car. Why, which car I want? Why do I want this car? What do I want to do with this?
Right.
In which environment I want to go? How I want to feel in this car?
Mhm.
What are like important criteria for me? And I think you have also experience where people think they want one thing, but when you go into the discussion with them, they realize that they want something totally different.
Oh, absolutely. The problem is never the problem. It's just a manifestation of of something else that's going on. you know Someone like, and you have to know, so the example of the car, for someone like me, I'm just go to point A to point B. Can it get me and my family there safely? I don't really care what it looks like. Probably don't even care about the gas fuel efficiency. I just need it to be relatively roomy enough for all of my family to get in and go, right? So trying to sell me on a lifestyle around a vehicle, I'm the wrong person,
Mhm.
right? But you wouldn't know that unless you asked some questions about me, right? So we just, like you said, not making assumptions about the person and really like getting to know them so that you can then effectively help them get what they want.
Yeah, and then they really feel that you have created actually value for them. Either it's like by them realizing what they really want or like solving their problem. And it's totally fine if this time, for example, I don't have the right car for you, but maybe next time you will start to buy car for your, I don't know, husband, wife, then you remember, but hey, there is a guy or a lady. Let's start there, and because you had this nice experience.
it's a relationship, right? You start the relationship and people remember how you make them feel. And that's just and if there are sales tricks, that's it. You want people to remember you,
Mhm.
and again, if like you said, it might not be the fit today, but that you want to come back and talk to that person.
Yeah, but when we come now back to everyday life,
Mm,
where you, I don't know, maybe you need to sell something for your children, that let's have a common weekend. Like
mhm.
for teenagers, it's not the fanciest and most favorite thing. So, where would you start? If you're a parent and you want to start warming up your children to spend a nice weekend together.
Oh, that's a good. How do we do that? Because you're right, we do it all the time, right? All the time. Um, Family relationships are interesting because you have history, right?
Yeah.
And you already know, some of it. So you can start with a foundational, um, like I know what's important to you, right? And spending time with your friends is top on the list for teenagers, right? And I'd like us to take this weekend away, right? And do something where you're not going to be talking to your friend, spending time with your friends. So in that kind of a dynamic, to sell that, it has to be a win for both sides, right? And I think again, and this is not untrue about sales either, regular sales, because the win for both sides in regular sales, right, is a transaction. The win for the seller is the financial aspect, and the win for the client is the services or whatever they're getting. So with a teenager at home, she needs to feel like she's winning on some level, whether that's financial or whatever, right? It's got to be something, a give and take, I think. Is that answering your question?
Yeah, but I would still like to elaborate this, and
Mhm.
my idea is also to, like with teenagers, my experience is that sometimes they want to be very independent because this is the phase of the life they are in. And then, as you said, they want to spend time with their friends instead of parents, but still they actually need the quality time to spend with their parents as well. And sometimes I see that as a parent, you you need to a bit push them so that
Mm,
they will get the experience that actually time with parents can also be really nice
yeah.
and enjoyable. And sometimes in those moments, I would even be more vulnerable. Maybe I don't know,
Mm,
how do you see this from a sales perspective? But maybe say that, darling, I really would like to have this quality time with you. And I
mhm.
think get away for a weekend and do something enjoyable together. You can choose what you want to do. We can find something together. It would maybe be a argument as well and show yourself from vulnerability
Mm.
perspective.
Yes, I think authenticity and truthfulness are really important for teenagers, and you they definitely need to see that, and you're being vulnerable for sure. The best advice I received for raising a teenager was when my daughter was maybe 6 or 7 years old, and we were having a parents' meeting, and a father of a family who's had older children said, when they're about 14, you want to start to have them see themselves as an individual contributor to the family decisions
Mhm,
because they're actually starting to individuate and they're going to push back because their brain sees them as a completely unique person, right? And anytime you push into the idea that they are not and they are not in charge of their own destiny, then they will absolutely they get frustrated and angry, right? So if we haven't been teaching them that or treating them that way, they're going to push back even more now that we ask them for the weekend away. Um, so that's just a lesson, right? To think about them is as adults.
Yeah, I very much agree with you that, as I told, in order them to fly out of the nest
Mhm.
in some point, they start to, they need to become more independent, make their own decisions, and it doesn't come with the moment that they will become 18 or 21 and then they will be able to make all of the important decisions their own. No, it's step by step, and they need to do those decisions. But still, actually, their brain needs also the time with their parents, because the parents are giving them this certainty that whatever they do outside of home, they
Yeah,
still have this place called home where they
yeah.
can always come back.
Yes, absolutely. And the other interesting thing is they pick up so much of our value system without us even
Mm.
having to say, right? So by giving them, as you said, that freedom to be who they are, they feel safer, like I said, coming back and being able to have those conversations. And it is, again, it's the relationship that you foster with intentional parenting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But as the world is changing so rapidly, why do you see that young people should learn sales skills? But or in general, like people, what does it give for people if they really master the skill, or at least learn some of the tricks in a good way, not in a like bad way, but how this will help them?
Oh, the timing of this is great. So my daughter is 18. She's about to go to college in the fall, and I just had her attend a sales training this week
Oh,
because and I did it because I want her to have the ability to influence people around her
Mm.
because she's very bright and children, and she's going to be in a community of young people, right, who are learning how to be in the world, and I want her to be able to have the best experience that she possibly can. And some of that involves being able to influence people to do what you would like to do, right? You want to form a club, you need to find people who are also interested. That's selling, right? You want to go on a weekend trip, swimming or whitewater rafting or hiking. You need to sell people on the idea. It's a way of enriching your life and not necessarily um, not manipulating people in any
Oh
way,
yeah.
just learning how to talk to them and light them up about the things that are important to you, right?
Yeah, and also when you mentioned the change of the school, then you will go to new school, new people. You need to start building new relationships and everything. And
Yeah.
I see huge value when it comes to building relationship with different people. To like really listen to them, what is important for them, and trying to find the match and see how we can help each other or collaborate or spend time together. So yeah, in this sense as well, and as a HR manager, I definitely see that in some point you will need to sell yourself. Either it's getting into the
Interview.
college or get the first job or something. It's a
Yeah,
very valuable skill for all the people.
absolutely. I think what we're saying here is that it's intentional versus just having life kind of happen to you, right?
Yeah.
Or hoping for the best. We are intentionally bringing a skill set that we're naturally good at anyway, right, to the world so that you can have that job, get the even having a network today, so much of our lives are digital. Right. But being able to have face-to-face skills where you can, right? It's almost like not a dying art, but it's almost like fewer and fewer people have them. So why not invest the time to be good at it, right?
Yeah, I agree. So Jeanette, how you can help people with sales.
So I started my own therapy business to help people go through things like life challenges that I had been through. And that was really rewarding. But what I found is that people actually want to hear how I sell because I'm not a salesy kind of person. I don't come across that way. So they're curious about how is it that I can do that. And they see me as a nice person. And in their head, they think sales is not nice. So they're very curious, like, how are you making this work, Jeanette? Like, how are you, like, so a lot of what I do, depending on where they are and what they're selling, if you're starting your own business, sometimes the hesitancy around selling has to do with whether or not you value yourself. Um,
Yeah, this, sorry to interrupt,
no,
but
no.
this brings me the teaching one a sales lady told to me as well when I started my own business that the first person you need to sell is to sell yourself.
Yes, absolutely. I was just I'm always also refining my skills. I'm always trying to learn to be better at the things I do. And I was in a sort of study group, and one of the participants has his own business, and he talked about his work. He's like, it's just this, it's no big deal. And I said, hold on a second. How are you supposed to sell something that even you don't believe in, right?
Yeah,
Like, and so there was a valuation, exercise he had to go through to really look at what he was doing as valuable so that he could be even more successful. And the guy already has a successful business, but he still had this little bit of doubt about whether or
yeah,
not it was real, like really a good thing. So yeah, sell yourself. If you're in corporate sales, you have to believe in the product that you're selling.
yeah.
I mean, like hook, line, and sinker. I think that, well, technology's advanced, but I sold Oracle database software. I still think that if you have a business and you don't want your database to crash, that's the best one. I still think so, right?
Amazing.
Right. So, but there's no way that I could have sold that otherwise if it was a
Yeah,
yucky product and didn't
I
do anything.
agree.
Yeah, if you have network performance monitoring issues, I know exactly who to go to, right? Like there are things like that I believe in. I have a lot of fun doing that because secretly I'm a nerd at heart. I love learning new things, right? So that world was fun. So if you want to go into sales, pick something that you are interested in. That's another tip, right? Enjoy it.
So when I hear you, then as I understand, we actually are selling every day, and sales is not something like out of the cosmos that we are not able to learn and become better at this, and something
Absolutely.
we should be afraid of. But it's rather something that is useful for us and helps us to be more successful. And as you told, like really build build your life with this as well.
Yeah.
Mm, and if you have any doubts around sales and how to become better seller
Mhm.
either at the company, and you don't need to be like the salesperson, like for as HR manager I see that many of the managers would benefit as well if they have very high skill, like high level sales skills, because they need to sell the ideas every day to their co-managers and employees and etc.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. And I think you can look at it as influence skills. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sales is the term that we know, but it's really influencing people at that level, especially because it is universally true, right? You do need to persuade people to do things because we all have varying priorities, different things. Right, during your workday, I'm sure you see people who, suddenly get slammed with a out of the blue project, but their manager still needs them to do something else, right? So it's persuading them as to why they need to prioritize one thing over the other, right? It's selling. for
Yeah.
sure.
And as I understand, you can help them to become better at this.
Yes. Yes. I didn't know that this is what I would end up doing. It's one of the things that I do. But yeah, what I saw was I saw so many beautiful souls doing so much amazing transformational work. I've spent a lot of time in communities of people who do like, I was about to say transformational healing work, and they can do these incredible things, but there's a block around selling because a lot of times they've been sold to, and that feels yucky. They don't like that. And if you're intuitively gifted, you may have been misunderstood. So what I started to do was I said, okay, this we can't have this be the block for the world not to see your gifts. This can't happen anymore, right? So I just started to teach sales. I would do strategy call practices, or your
Yeah.
discovery call. And no one wanted to be on the phone. They didn't want to practice, even in this safe space where there wasn't real clients, where there was no money about to change hands. They were like, nope, I don't want to do it. So I learned how to make it fun and easy, and they would practice. Um, so that they can make it. So what I see is selling like this, being able to help someone sell is a ripple effect, right? I may touch one person's life and help them have the conversation, but the number of people they get to help and heal and connect with after that, it's like, it's just, it's the only reason that I talk about sales, I think. I love it.
Amazing. And it's so great that we have people who feel like really well about sales, and they are willing to help other people to overcome their inner obstacles around this, and blocks, because yeah, it's it I don't know what is your experience, but I believe that sometimes even the very small things can help you to become more confident at doing it.
Oh, absolutely. And like I was sort of referencing with those people with their blocks, the problem about sales is not the problem because like we notice we do it all the time. S- I mean, some people may be more persuasive than others just naturally, but we are always doing it. So if you can do it in one area of your life, you can absolutely sell something else. It's just a mental block. And I don't know if we mentioned this before, but what I see is that there can be a receiving issue, especially for women, and they don't necessarily know that's why. If you're undercharging for your services, right? There's probably an issue about receiving money. And when with my work, what I found was when I worked on someone's relationship issues, they started to make more money. If I worked on the money receiving sales issues, the quality of the relationships changed. And so I say they're sort of twin wounds. They're both happening. And if you work on one, you work on both. But people don't necessarily know that, right? They just think they don't like sales, or they think that they just pick the wrong man all the time, right? Like that's not actually it, right?
But as you told, I see that the linking part is maybe the communication.
Oh yeah, communication for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
very interesting, very interesting. But Jeanette, wrapping up our very interesting discussion, I know that we could follow this discussion hours. Um, where can people find you?
If they want to follow some of my sales content, I'm on Facebook under Jeanette Marie, under my maiden name, but Jeanette Marie Rogerson. Uh, and on Instagram, it's Jeanette Marie LLC. I often will post, just my thought of the day because I like you, bringing fun to it or shedding light on it, just bringing it out of the shadow and saying, doesn't have to be hard. So yeah, social media is probably the best way to find me.
Amazing. I do hope that all the people who really want to have bigger influence will find a way to you.
Me too. And that's why I say if you think you hate selling, like it doesn't have to be that way, right? It's just, it can be joyful and light and, just connected, right?
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you, Jeanette, for your time and great insights and tips.
Thank
So,
you. This
uh,
has been wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
yeah. And to all of you, I will put Jeanette's contact below. And thank you for listening us. And until the next time, bye.